Accordingly, I was originally going to do a long election piece on refuting the specific statements of Presidents Joe Biden and Barack Obama over the 2022 midterms. I was going to refute a speech by Obama that he did on behalf of Arizona Senator Kelly, and I was going to play a clip of Joe Biden promising Californians that he was going to shut down coal plants all across America.
Guess what? It costs them too much money. They can't count. No one's building new coal plants because they can't rely on it, even if they have all the coal guaranteed for the rest of the existence of the plant. So it's going to become a wind generation. And all they're doing is going to save them a hell of a lot of money, and using the same transmission line they transmitted the coal-fired electric on. We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America. We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America.
We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America.
But I really think the issues of this election can be crystallized down to a clip of a Minneapolis Target store being looted in 2020. George Floyd had just died while in protective police custody, and the Democratic Party leadership of Minneapolis did something amazing. They announced to the mob that as long as they voted Democrat, the mob was permitted to loot, to pillage, to commit violence, and to burn any home or minority-owned business in their neighborhoods. Not only would they not be punished for criminal behavior, but the Democratic officials in Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota ordered that local police and fire departments stand down. This was so the aggrieved Democrat rioters could, quote, express themselves, unquote, in the most violent manner possible. And so I watched, like the rest of America, as the residents of Minnesota descended on a Target store. I was astonished to see a multi-ethnic, diverse crowd of looters. People from all walks of life, all skin colors, all ethnicities, looting to their heart's content. What did Target do to George Floyd? What did the Target store manager do to George Floyd? Or the employees there who fed their families working at that store do to George Floyd? Nothing. Yet here was the mob looting because the Democratic Party had announced to the nation that they would be rewarded for destroying their own neighborhoods, and so they did. As I watched these looters freely stream into this store and emerge with goods they had not purchased, I struggled to comprehend their thinking. Didn't they know they were stealing from their own community? Didn't they value their own community? This was their neighborhood that they were attacking. What made them think that this was not their community that they were stealing from? Why did the looters and rioters feel they were entitled to anything over George Floyd? Was he just an excuse to steal? This attitude was repeated nationwide through 2020, as Democrat officials at a local, county, and state level all rewarded looters, arsonists, and rioters for their treasonous behavior. No shoot-to-kill orders were issued by Democrat governors or mayors. They loved what they were seeing from the crowd, because the Democrat officials agreed, when they met in private, that the riots served a multitude of purposes. Number one, the Democrats could blame any deaths or property damage on President Donald Trump. Wasn't it his racism that killed George Floyd in a Democrat-run city in a Democrat-run state? Of course. Number two, Democratic Party officials were going to gain in wealth and power by permitting these riots to burn down entire neighborhoods, if not entire cities. And three, the American taxpayer could be counted on to foot the bill for all repairs, reconstruction, and replacement of store inventories. The looters would not be asked to rebuild their neighborhoods. They would not be held to any civil claims for the costs involved in reconstruction or repairs. No, that would be the job of the American U.S. taxpayer. For instance, that initial looted Target store would be quietly repaired by the Target Corporation, and the cost of all looted goods would be paid for, not by the looters, but by Target customers around the country. You know, the ones who didn't break the law. They would pay the price, not the looters and arsonists. This was the criminal bargain that Democrat officials struck for themselves across the country. Vote for us, and we'll make sure that you don't get blamed or charged in any way for destroying your own neighborhoods. Left holding the bill? The American taxpayer, who didn't break the law, who didn't steal, who didn't burn, who had nothing to do with any of this, which was encouraged by Democrat officials for their own ends. This is why the Democratic Party worked so hard to make the 2022 midterm elections about January 6th. Because that riot did not serve the political ends of the Democratic Party. There is an endless circle of federal judges ready to throw the book at January 6 rioters. After all, it was a riot against democracy and the rule of law. When these same judges are asked about the George Floyd riots, nope, nothing to punish there. Those rioters were justified in violence, arson, and theft. See the difference? I can't either. As you go to vote in 2022 and 2024, I ask you to remember that initial Target store that was looted in Minneapolis 2 years ago. Ask yourself why the politicians involved were rewarded for that destruction with money and power. They didn't pay the price for the riots they encouraged. And the same for the mayors and governors in states across the country that encouraged identical riots. Ask yourself why it was all right for the American taxpayer to pay 100% of the cost for lawlessness. And ask yourself why those who sanctioned the burning of entire cities now sit in pious judgment over those who protested on behalf of fair elections. And vote accordingly. Thank you.